Hey everybody, welcome back. Josh Collacchi here with RotoCurve.com, and it's the last installment for Week 6. Of course, we've had quarterbacks posted, running backs, receivers, and that leaves one position left, and that's tight end for FanDuel. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Your Week 6 tight ends. Who else? Rob Gronkowski. I mean, every week you got to look at this guy simply because he's the most talented tight end in the NFL, and he may go down as one of the most talented tight ends we've ever seen, especially considering his touchdown rate. We don't really need to get into specifics because Rob Gronkowski is Rob Gronkowski, but he does face a Colts team this week that has not allowed a touchdown, but that could change considering that Gronk is one of the most touchdown efficient players in NFL history so to this point in his career. So Gronk is Gronk. He's at 8,200. He's very expensive, but if you do want to get him into your lineups, it's definitely not worth arguing against, especially in cash games. But if you don't want to go towards the Gronk, there are some other options you can use. So let's talk about those guys right now. First guy is Antonio Gates, who's also one of the better tight ends we've seen in the NFL, especially in the last 20 years. But Gates' first game back this season was last week against the Steelers, and it was very successful. If you watched that game, he saw 11 targets. He caught 9 of them, and he had just over 90 yards, 2 touchdown catches. And it really looks like he never left. Of course, this was his first game of the season, and it just looked like him and Rivers have been playing together all season long. So you can tell that that chemistry is still there, and it looks like he's going to be one of the main targets for the rest of the season. Now, the rest of the season doesn't mean too much right now simply because it's daily fantasy, which means we're only focused on this given week, and that is Week 6. But I do think Gates sees a lot of targets again against the Packers simply because the way the Packers operate, especially this season, is they put a lot of pressure on the quarterback. If you watch that game against the Pittsburgh Steelers, that's exactly how Gates got a lot of his catches. The Steelers were getting after Phillip Rivers, as most teams will, especially with the Chargers having issues on their offensive line. So with Gates getting those underneath passes, I believe he caught 4 or 5 of them and was able to run for close to 20 or more yards after the catch. You're going to get 4 or 5 catches and 20 yards. That's an additional 4 points on top of whatever he sees down the field. At tight end, especially at 5,500, that's definitely a bonus. So considering the fact that Gates has been one of the more targeted guys in his tenure with the Chargers, and he did see 11 targets in his first game back, and with the Packers expected to get after the quarterback, expect Gates to receive a lot of dump off passes, and that could just build his fantasy worth one catch at a time. Now, of course, the Packers are at home too, so that means the Chargers are likely going to be playing from behind, and the more passes thrown by Rivers means the more catches and opportunities for Antonio Gates, which is why he makes for an excellent option at just 5,500. The last tight end I wanted to talk about makes for a very good tournament option, and that's Zach Ertz for the Philadelphia Eagles at 5,000. Last week in Week 5, Zach Ertz was very, very involved in the Eagles' passing game, seeing 7 targets. Now, 7 targets doesn't seem like a lot, but for $500 more than the minimum, and considering the weakness at the rest of the tight end position, I think Ertz makes for a very excellent play, simply considering his price and the alternates at that price. Now, of those 7 targets last week, he caught 5 of them rather, for 60 yards. But had it not been a mix-up for Josh Huff, and according to that play, if you watched it, it ended up being a touchdown reception for Huff, where 2 of the Saints players ran into each other. Now, at first, it looked like a good block by Zach Ertz, but it looked like a little bit of a mix-up. Had it not been for that, Ertz would have ended up with around 6 catches for about 90 yards and a touchdown. That's a big game for a tight end, especially a guy that is just 5,000. He gets the Giants in Week 6, which this makes him an even better option simply because the Giants have not been able to cover the tight end this season. They've allowed the most catches, the second most yards, and the second most touchdowns to opposing tight end so far in the 2015 season. So that means Ertz is going to be targeted a lot simply because Chip Kelly likes to exploit the other team's defensive weaknesses. We've seen him do it pretty much the entire time he's been in Philadelphia. And so far this season, although the offense has sputtered, the first few weeks, it's looked better in the last 2 weeks. He tends to go towards the weaknesses, and that's exactly what Ertz is for the New York Giants secondary, so expect him to see a lot of targets. The other reason why I like Ertz this week is if you're going to be using Sam Bradford, who we talked about before in the quarterbacks video, Ertz makes for a good stack with him because you're going to add a receiver that could potentially catch a touchdown or 2, depending on the game script, for just $5,000 in a stack. And that makes for a really good option in GPPs simply because you're using 2 guys that can maximize your production for a given event, which would be a touchdown pass. You're not spending too much money. So at tight end for this week, you're obviously looking at Rob Gronkowski. I do like Antonio Gates, and Zach Ertz is a nice little option for you if you wanted to use in a GPP with a stack with Bradford. Of course, there are other guys I like Tyler Eifert if you want to use Andy Dalton, or even guys like Travis Kelce or Martellus Bennett, who also see a lot of targets. Now, that pretty much wraps up our tight end segment for this week. Be sure to go over to RotoCurve.com. Check out all the free tools, all the free analysis. Everything on there is free, and there's a ton of data. There's a ton of tools. You can see this video and more. Everything's posted over there, so be sure to go over there. If you haven't signed up, sign up already, and we'll be able to get you some curve points, which can be used for free stuff. And like we said before, everything at RotoCurve.com is free, so be sure to enjoy it, and let's make Week 6 and the rest of your season a profitable and fun one in NFL DFS. Good luck, everybody.